Hi and good evening, everyone. My name is Albert, and this is VlogsBoutNothin. Thank you very much for taking the time out of your very busy night to join me. I really appreciate that. I just wrapped up a shower vlog a little bit ago, and then I had a peanut butter, banana, honey bread sandwich. I think I said pita. If not, it was pita with peanut butter and honey. It was really good, and some bananas. And then now here I am. Also, I really enjoy the show It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia because, well, it's just a really funny show. It is not for the sensitive, though. So just throwing that out there. I hope that you guys had a really good day. And seriously, thanks to all the new subs, new viewers. I really appreciate it. There's a couple of shower vlogs right now that are doing pretty good on the channel. And, I just hope that we can, all move forward now, knowing that I did something I said I was gonna do. Yay! I'm 36 years old. It's only taken me this long, but regardless, 5 years, of when I started shooting shower vlogs. So I'm really excited about that. That was completed. And now I'm like looking forward and thinking about next year and how far the channel will be. And I think it's always an interesting thing for sure. But tonight, and sidebar over. Tonight, I want to talk about the cost of a cup of coffee. And, let's vlog vibe this like we do every night on Vlogs About Nothing. In terms of like, okay, so I remember the first Starbucks that I bought was in Manhattan in 2002. Okay, so there weren't any Starbucks, I want to say, in Albuquerque in the early 2000s. If there were like a couple, maybe, you know what I mean? But like at the time, I was a young man and I was traveling around the country. I did a lot of traveling when I was younger. But regardless, I ended up in Manhattan for the first time in New York City around 2002. And I remember going down the street, every block, Starbucks kind of a thing. And then as a young man, I thought to myself, because like it was pretty, like apparent that it was a Seattle company or a Washington, where like, because there was, Pike's Place, all like, it was still utilized as like the main home of the brand, even like on the other side of the country. So back then I was just like, holy potatoes, this is the first time I've ever seen a coffee place. This is the first time I've ever been into a place that sold coffee, right? And then now I look back on old school sitcoms from the 90s and stuff, and in those big cities, that's when, cafes were starting to become a thing, right? Like they were like niche, you feel me? There were like internet cafes too, which is like really crazy because densely populated places have always the coolest stuff. With more people comes more options and more availability, right, in terms of what's offered. And I wish I grew up in a place where there was an internet cafe, next to a cafe, but I was able to have like my first ever frappuccino, and then of course venti white mocha in that year. And I remembered at the time all the adults that I was with talking about how like $5 was expensive for a cup of coffee, and it wasn't even really $5. It was more like $3.55. There's a really cool, all these explanations if you Google Starbucks price comparison 2001 versus 2024. You'll get all these different resources, right? And one that I pulled from was one that Google got for me, and that, the average price, like the cost of a drink was about like a little under $4 for a venti, hot or cold, back in 2001. You feel me? And so like now they're closer to $9, you know what I mean? And drinks can easily get to be over $10. Sometimes drinks are closer to 15, depending on, if you add 2 shots of espresso, more flavoring, anything at all like that. All that stuff costs a lot. Also, coffee was trading at about a little under $1 a pound of beans per, like whatever. So there was that. But like legit, old people were talking about spending a few dollars on coffee back then, you know what I mean? Because like it wasn't a thing, like it was Manhattan. This is my example here in terms of like, that's always been one of the most expensive cities in the whole world, um, or boroughs located within a city. That's the most expensive in the world, one of them, and so it's interesting. But I have real good memories of hanging out in all different types of. There was literally a Starbucks on every block, at the end of every block. There were two, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I remember this because we were on like West 57th and Ninth. You feel me? And there was like Starbucks everywhere. So I'm just saying that's where I got my Starbucks taste. And then as it would be, I always, as I get older and money starts to add up at places that I've frequented over the course of my life, I often ask myself, how much money have I spent at Starbucks? And just like everybody else, I'd probably say, you know, a lot, a lot in terms of like a lot of money, I mean, especially considering that as consumers, we've footed the bill for inflation and unnecessary arbitrary price increases as a result of us always debating inflation and so forth. So, all of those things have literally made our cups of coffee almost three times as expensive in just under 20 years, or a little more than 20 years. And so, like, I don't know, I'm, I'm interested in price, stability, like, seriously, because, I mean, it almost seems like is even if people, like, get paid more and stuff, like, these private companies, everybody just jacks up the prices, arbitrarily to sort of, like, make it not matter. And it's interesting because the other night I was thinking, I was like, the most prosperous time for everybody in this country was probably during the COVID pandemic when people were staying home and they actually were getting paid money from their government to behave in a safe manner, and the economy was doing well. Middle class families, there were less hungry children, there were less hungry people. There's all a bunch of evidence to support all of these things that I'm saying. But regardless, I'm not sure if I'm cool with like paying that much for a cup of coffee. I know that even though today, now, right? Like even 20 years ago, what I do now is like make my own coffee at home. And I feel like a lot of people do that. But then I feel like there are so many new customers going into these places like Starbucks and Dutchy, you feel me, that like they're really young people. And often these young people like get money from like other places, that like may or may not be like from a job in a sense, like, or if it is a job, it's a really good job and it doesn't really impact them, you know what I mean? Like financially, they may be single, may not have children. All of the things that I'm saying, statistics would tell us that are true, and that like younger people aren't having kids, younger people aren't getting married, they are single. So with those things, obviously comes a lot more financial, freedom, but then not that much because the reason that those two things aren't happening is because there's not enough money to make them happen to begin with. But like, you understand what I'm saying? I'm just saying that it's different. Like when you're paying $4 for a cup of coffee compared to 10, and it's weird that as I get older, again, I'm 36 years old, and I guess so 22 years ago, I was 14 years old when I first started going to Starbucks or around then, And like, wow. So yeah, they've got me for 20 years, longer than the length of time that it took me to be alive and encounter their product in the store. So good for Starbucks. But seriously, like, I mean, come on now. That's a lot of money. I currently have like $2 in my checking account. I think it'd be wonderful if I were able to sort of have all that money back, but like whatever. I'm just saying, like, it's just interesting to talk about because I know that I probably could have paid for, at least a semester, maybe a whole year of college, if I had not started going to Starbucks. But then it's like anything else in life. Like food costs money, you know what I mean? And that means beverages too. But then also I wonder like, at the end of our lives, millennials and then obviously generations after us, I'm wondering like how much of a part of the bottom line are we going to be for corporations? Like, in terms of, like, okay, so Albert, you started eating McDonald's and you were 5. You are now 85. You have been buying McDonald's products for 80 years. You know, that's a lot of money. I mean, more people, like, you know, plus everybody, Starbucks, McDonald's, like all these places, you know what I mean? It's just sort of like, I think I'm more interested, like, at the end of it, spending more money on me, like eating my own cooked food, than I am having these large percentage points of, you know, like all this fast food and stuff. But I don't know. I'll not ever say that I won't go to Starbucks, because Starbucks is like the McDonald's of coffee, and if you like coffee, you're going to Starbucks, you know. And yeah, so I just think it's weird how times have changed that much. That's all. I hope that you guys have a wonderful night. It's always fun, vlogs about nothing. Seriously, every view, every sub, I really appreciate y'all. And I hope you guys have a really good night, okay? Bye.